The clear winner of DC FanDome, I mean, it's not even close, is the Batman. Look at these trailer views. Incredible! This is Joker level excitement. And I think it shows a true preference for fans when it comes to DC material, particularly of the Batman variety. I mean, do you see a stylistic pattern here? I think it's hyper-realism. And this exciting idea that what we love on the page could exist in real life. That's what excites me about it. And also that it takes the source material so seriously. It's thrilling. It's really, really good. I personally am one of the people who is a fan of this stylistic approach to the material. Also, this is why DC sticks Batman in everything. He makes a difference. People just gravitate towards that character. Interestingly, people gravitate towards these days Batman, always Batman, but also evil Superman's quite popular, which makes it all the more frustrating. Henry Cavill must just have as I've told you, such a bad relationship with Warner Brothers because he's the perfect evil Superman. I just can't believe that they're not getting on that. Now, speaking of actors, I'd like to congratulate Robert Pattinson for being so close to completing his Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio teen heartthrob rehabilitation program. All he's waiting on now is the RT score for this movie and the box office. And I think based on how this trailer was received, the odds seem to be in his favor. Also, let's address the goth in the room. And that's, of course, Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, who instantly divided audiences. Some pointed out that Peter Parker and Bucky did it first, while others argue that as a year 2 Batman, Bruce simply hasn't perfected his Bruce Wayne persona. That is a very reasonable argument. I just don't happen to like it. Because Bruce Wayne is a blue blood. He's born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That part of him is not, he can't get rid of it. I mean, he's broken underneath that. And I think that's a very important distinction. I think that it also makes it all the more fascinating that he would risk his life as a vigilante. It's not something that usually an aristocrat would do. They would pay somebody else to do it, but he does it himself. I mean, if you take that blue blood stuff away, then you just have well, I love Daredevil, but you have Daredevil. And in fact, many of you said this reminded you of Daredevil, and Batman shouldn't remind you of Daredevil. Even though the characters are cut from the same cloth, they're supposed to be very different, I think, Batman. And I have to say, in the cowl, in this trailer, he seems very much like Batman. This is just a Bruce Wayne conversation. I'll also say that what makes it even more frustrating is that Robert Pattinson could look like the perfect Bruce Wayne. And you know what? If by the end of the movie he turns into that, I'll be very happy, even though we hit this little bump in the road. I mean, it just takes one or two people to connect him to being Batman for the jig to be up. And I think, again, if he's so troubled, I think, I don't know. I guess we have to, how can people not tell that Superman is Clark Kent? I guess we just have to excuse it a little bit. I'd also like to add that I have never liked any of the live-action Bruce Waynes except for Ben Affleck. I think they've all been weak, and I've loved all those movies. So even if I never come around to this version of Bruce Wayne, that doesn't mean I won't absolutely adore Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's Batman. I do agree with many of you that while this has Nolan's uber-realistic approach, it is closer in artistic flair to David Fincher, just as Joker was closer to Martin Scorsese. And on that note, speaking of Seven, I think this movie borrows a lot from Seven, as many of you noted yesterday. But don't you think it's cool that we kind of have a Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman combo here? That's just another nod to Seven. Although I'm sure David Fincher's like, why don't you just hire me? I think when I was watching Mindhunter, I've been saying he should do an Arkham Asylum movie. David Fincher's perfect for this. I think he did talk. I mean, David Fincher, a little picky on the projects he takes, and this is what happens. This is funny. This is like Sam Mendes taking Bond and then doing Christopher Nolan-style filmmaking, even though Christopher Nolan himself has wanted to direct Bond. And here, Matt Reeves has said, yoink, and just taken David Fincher's style. Hey, you know what? It's all's fair in Hollywood. It's turning out great for Matt Reeves. He's gonna shoot. I mean, he was already pretty popular with the Apes franchise, but he's gonna shoot up to Nolan levels and stuff if he gets this right. And I have to say, he's only shot 25% of the movie because of the pandemic, and they were able to put together an outstanding teaser trailer that seems like a full teaser. Not like they had to cut any corners or this is all they had to work with. It seems really strong. And also, there's very strong comic book influences, which is also interesting. Now, in some cases, it reminds me very much of the work of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Matt Reeves actually was a student of Jeff Loeb's, I believe a screenwriting student. And it reminds me a lot of The Long Halloween and Dark Victory in some of the panel and some of the shots. However, at other times, it reminds me a lot of what Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo did most recently when they relaunched The Batman. And I have to tell you, I personally didn't care for that, although it was very popular with a specific group of people. I feel that's a very hyper male, and I hate to say this because I think everything should be for everyone. And it's weird to see Batman get pulled more in a male direction and Wonder Woman get pulled more in a female direction. We should make everything for everybody. But for instance, Snyder and Capullo never had a strong female character in their run ever. And one of the reasons I think a lot of women like Batman, not only because he's a great character, but he has a fantastic group of female characters within his mythology. Like for instance, Catwoman should look a heck of a lot better here. That should be bringing, in a lot of, female and LGBT people. And it probably still will. But, why make it so difficult for yourself? I mean, her mask is ridiculous, as we'll discuss. All right, so let's break this down. It's beautiful, really, really good. I just, I have a couple little things with it. And that's just me. This could prove very popular. We'll see how people react to it, but it's interesting to see the choices that are made. All right, here we go. All right, so we start off with this cool, I love the red coloring for Batman. It's a great choice. It's very distinctive. I like the little glow effect. I thought with the duct tape, I thought it was Velcro at first, but the duct tape is just fantastic. I think this is the Riddler. There's a better shot of him at the end. We'll go over that. There's a quick shot. So he's taped that guy's head up, all Hush-like. We'll talk about the Hush influence when we see the better shot of the Riddler. And he also wrote on his face, "No More Lies," which actually is like a current villain that they just had in the comics just recently, with a D on his face. And although that was pretty good, although he was just, I don't want to give anything away. The Batman comic's pretty good right now. So, a lot of comic book references. So that guy's dead. His face all taped up. So I like this shot, although I don't know why there are so many police in there. I'd be like, clear the room. That's one of my favorite shots. That's gorgeous, that you can just see Gordon picking up this envelope and you see it from far away and through all the hustle of the crime scene. It's just a really beautiful shot. It shows you the Sherlock Holmes influences of Batman, which we'll talk about in a moment as well. Because this is, of course, remember, a detective story. So there's our great shot of Gordon, the Morgan Freeman of our seven. Bending Gordon makes even more sense when you think of the Seven comparison. But he looks great. I mean, he instantly looks like Jim Gordon. There's not even a question as to who that is. And that's, to me, great casting. I think that you can do race bending with the right actor and gender bending. And Jeffrey Wright is the right actor to do this for Gordon. So he's looking around. Now, I thought some of you were like, I can't believe you thought this was Gordon, Grace. Well, that's a ridiculously short cape. That's trench coat level. I think it's too short. I'm like, if that's how short your cape is, why are you even wearing it? I don't like the cape being that short. I mean, he looks amazing from the top up, but it's a little too short in my. I know that, if it's too long, it would drag on the floor. Did you just step on my cape? It's crowded in there. But I don't know. Again, if I can't tell that Clark Kent is Superman, I think no one will step on Batman's cape. We'll talk about Batman in the Room in a moment. But so this is really important. So now it's frozen. If we look at the frame, these are all about the mayor. The mayor has been elected for a third term. So it seems like that's what you can see someone calling him King Don. Over there, King Don. So it's like maybe he shouldn't have a third term. I think you could have a third term here in New York, but it's usually supposed to just be 2 terms for a politician. So somebody wasn't happy about his reelection. So the crime scene. So there's a card. Oh, he gave Batman a card. How sweet. Hallmark's like, yes, physical cards are still important. Thanks, Batman movie. Sponsored by Hallmark. So it says, what does a lie or something when dead? He's got real 7 handwriting. And then he's got some crazy hieroglyphics on the bottom there. I'd be like, I'm not like Batman. I'm like, this is too difficult. I hope it's not too difficult for us to solve. The recent Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes movies were problematic to me because we couldn't play along. I think a good mystery is one where the audience can help solve it. And even better, sometimes a step or two ahead of the hero. So that, that gives us the feeling of suspense while we wait for them to put it together. Usually if we're just like a few scenes ahead of them, that's always the best. Or even if the things dawn on us at the same time, that's really cool. So I hope that's how this is put together. Oh, look, it's a green envelope. The Riddler. All right, that's a cute card. I wonder if Batman has a bat mantle. He has the Batcave. Maybe that's how he starts having his trophy room. He's like, oh, this is a nice one. So look, Maroni drug bust. And of course, John Turturro is playing Carmine Falcone. So you can see already, look, there's coronavirus in Gotham. He has an N95. It's not put on correctly. You're supposed to pinch the nose, buddy. All right, so anyway. So the mayor's been killed. Did Riddler hire this guy? Maybe Carmine Falcone in a Harvey Dent kind of situation. All right. So there's Batman. I agree. Usually the room is supposed to be cleared for just Gordon and Batman. I don't know how I feel about Batman walking around in the room with everybody else. I mean, I would think so many people get a good look at him, someone would connect the dots. I've always kind of felt that Gordon even knows who he truly is because they spend so much time together. But I don't like Batman just walking around the room with everybody else. However, Robert Pattinson's posture is a thing of beauty. He looks fantastic. And he usually slouches. So the fact that he's standing up so perfectly and so rigid is really cool. I mean, I just think, he looks like Batman to me. It's a great suit from the waist up. I don't like the short cape, but otherwise, I'm super impressed. Super impressed. It's so dark, this movie. It's so dark. So there's Gordon. There's Batman watching from behind. Yeah, okay. So he's going to his Batcave, which we'll talk about in a moment, and he's going through the park, but not just a park, but a cemetery. Does he always drive by where his parents are buried? I love it. So he's like, so look at this. At first I thought he was still building this under Wayne Manor, but no, this looks to me like it's an abandoned subway or train station, because you can see it's very Grand Central-y actually a little bit. You can see the stairwell here, the staircase. Because there's on both sides. I mean, I don't think that would be anybody. It could be someone's home. It could be, but to me, I think that he's built it. And Batman in the comics has often had other caves, throughout the city. Sometimes in abandoned, train stations or tunnels. Now, what's very smart about this is this would give him access to all the underground tunnels under the city so he can move around really well and also get access to his cave instead of having to drive all the way out to the rich neighborhood where Wayne Manor is. So that does make sense. So I think that's great. He's like, to the Hamptons. I'll be there. The bat signal goes off and he's like, we got to give him like an hour and a half to get here. So I think it looks great. So this is the Batcave. I'd be like, what's on those stairs? Do you have a little bed up there? Okay. I want a tour. So here he is. I believe this is the funeral for the mayor. All right, so you start to really piece this together. Look at all those gloves for the police officers. That looks great with that, actually, with the white. So you can see Bruce Wayne running there, and he's running to the front pew. I believe he saves this little boy. I bet that's the mayor's son. Because, Bruce Wayne always feels bad for little boys. He's like, you want to be Robin? He's like, no. And he's like, that's okay. I'll keep looking. So he grabs this kid, and then you can see that I think that's the mom being like, no, my God, not my son. And then this thing goes by and seems to have like a crossword puzzle on it, although you can see it says DOA. Yes, he is going to be DOA. No need for a question mark. But the Riddler's like, that's my thing. So this literally crashes the funeral. Look at that. What is that, Lincoln Town car? Look at that product placement. The Riddler doesn't just hijack any car, thank you very much. All right, so I've told you before that this is a modern times movie. It does not take place in the 90s. You can see by the technology. He doesn't have a flip phone taped to his hand. That would be hilarious. Batman's like, I can't work with this. So he's got his mouth is taped so he can't talk. His hand, he's got a phone taped to his hand and another Valentine. Aw, this one's yellow though. And so Bruce is like, God damn it, I don't like this guy. So yeah, he's a little bigger. He looks a little bigger. I told you he's having trouble bulking up, and clearly he never did. But I don't mind skinny Batman. I think he's so tall and so broad, I think it works. So he's like, God damn it. And maybe he's like, what should I do? You can see him thinking, which I appreciate. And maybe his hair was slicked back before this started. Now, you know what? I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. He was running around a lot. So his shirt, though, is very dirty. Yeah, that's just not a nice enough suit. Where the hell are you, Alfred? You're asleep at the wheel. All right. So here's Catwoman, like a scene right out of the comics. I love it so much. And, Zoe Kravitz has the body language down perfectly already. She makes a great Catwoman silhouette. And then I love how she's working on this. It's very much like a cat, how she's working on this safe. It's so cool. The way she holds her hand, she's doing a really nice job. Although if you lighten this shot, that is the most ridiculous mask ever. I mean, I can't believe she leaves the house looking like that. I'm like, you better hope you stay in the shadows. You look ridiculous. And it's the same thing. Is she in cahoots with the Riddler, maybe? Why are they both bandaging their heads up? Be like, you couldn't have thought of this independently because it's a stupid idea. All right, so I like, I think she has a little bit of makeup on. Go for the smoky eye, Catwoman. Although Batman and Catwoman in year one, of course, this is year two, but in year one, when they first meet, they're both kind of deciding on their identities. And so they do have they are kind of like the male and female version of each other. And they've created that, like a yin and yang. And I think they're doing that very nicely. She looks very good there, very feminine. So I wonder who's at the docks. The mob? Now this is crazy. That's Colin Farrell, apparently. Why did they be like, let's pay for Colin Farrell, but make him look like Richard Kind? I'd be like, you turned him into Richard Kind. I know an actor who actually looks like that. But then, of course, Richard Kind can only do Richard Kind. So we'll see what kind of performance Colin Farrell turns in. But that's insane. Remember when we thought he'd have white hair and a cane and be all dapper? But I will say he looks like Oswald Cobblepot. He looks great. But that's incredible to me. I mean, I can see who's winning an Oscar for makeup right now. The Batman. So this is great. All right, so we're almost at that shot. So look, Gordon's breaking up a fight. Why is he fighting with the GCPD? Also, Batman spends way too much time with people here. I'd be like, you're supposed to be in the shadows. Like, stop it. He's like getting coffee in the break room. He's like, I hate this stuff. Any donuts left? All right. That's Catwoman, I believe, putting down her visor. That looks great. I think it's Catwoman. I told you, they've made them so similar, they're a little hard to tell apart. So they're fighting. Catwoman's got the skills. Batman's like, oh, it was love at first punch to the gut. She was wearing a stupid mask, though, but I forgave it. Now look, Batman has returned to the funeral. And that guy didn't make it. You can see he's exploding. That looks sad. Wow. The Riddler was not messing around there, boy. But that's a cool shot. That's really great. Tiny cape? It's really a coat. All right, so there's Riddler. And he's taped his head up just like Hush. How weird that they would do that. I'd be like, there's another character that tapes his head up. So it makes me feel like they might be borrowing from both Riddler and Hush and making their own character. Changing the Riddler up a little bit. Hush with glasses. You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? The first Batman movie from '89 has some great lines. But he's got a green coat on, Riddler style, green puffer coat. That's how you know he's evil. Puffer coats are comfortable, but nobody likes them. All right, I once wore a puffer coat in a restaurant. I got sat in a bad section of the restaurant, and I've never worn a puffer coat since. I was like, what? So I think maybe the Hush thing they might have kept is that they're childhood friends, especially because at the end, Riddler says, you're a part of this too. And Paul Dano and Robert Pattinson are basically the same age. So I wonder if that's the case. They actually look a lot alike, quite frankly. That could be interesting. So this is great. He's like, who are you supposed to be? And this was when the trailer won me over. Because, that obviously great line, I'm a surgeon and this is the operating table. I'm paraphrasing from The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller. That's Surgeon Batman to me. Like, as some of you realize, making an example of one guy so you don't have to fight the rest of them and just like completely wailing on him. But he's not out of control. He's still in control. Like, you can feel his rage, but you can also feel his skill and precision. It's just incredible. I'm really impressed with that. To me, that was without a doubt Batman. And I like that he goes for the extra hits. He's like, yeah, I'm not done. And then he says, I'm vengeance. And I guess I'm warming to the line. The I'm Batman line is so iconic. I think I'm just used to hearing it. I know some of you like the vengeance line. I think it's all right. I think I do like it's a little too poetic for me personally. I know it's from the comics. I've never liked it when Kevin Conroy said it. It seemed to be trying too hard. You don't have to try that hard, Batman. But I do, of course, recognize the history of it. And that also the Batman's just so broken by what happened to his parents. I do like that element a lot. So there he's testing out the Batmobile, which has a blue flame. We've been lied to. So here's the chase scene. So This is great. I love these shots. So this looks a little like the warehouse fight to me. So I'm excited about that. That someone shoots him right in the chest plate. You can see he's wearing a chest plate though. These guys like, I'm gonna try for it anyway. And I love this. We've seen the stairwell shot a lot of times in movies at this point, but that's a thing of beauty with the police shooting after him and he's going up there. That looks great. And then there's Penguin saying, this guy's crazy, but he's having a great time, as Colin Farrell tends to have. And Batman's like, I'll take on all of you, I don't care. And then you have this cool red light and smoke, and then the Batman logo comes in like some kind of crazy, like forget 90s, like some kind of 80s movie, and it just looks fantastic. So there he is in the Batcave, and the Riddler saying, you're part of this too, you'll find out why. And then you've got the smoky eyes. He looks very Bucky there. And I loved Winter Soldier, by the way. I thought that character looked fantastic. But one of the reasons it wasn't just the look for Bucky, what did it was his skill set and his precision, and he was just a marvel to behold. Marvel. So this guy needs to be a DC to behold. No, I mean, like, really, this is going to have great action sequences in it. And so I'm excited for them to shoot them. All right, so then I love the question marks for the release date. I think that's very clever. I think it's very, very strong. And again, won the night. So what do you think? What are your comic book preferences? What do you like about this? What do you not like about it? I'm sure some of you will say, I love everything about it. That's fine. That's great. I'm so happy. But I'm just curious to hear everybody. I think nobody can deny that it certainly has everyone's attention. All right, write those thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.